Good morning. It's been a fun weekend at Camp Greystone, and I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we are led in worship by our Camp Greystone preschoolers. There are no sung parts to this song, but we invite you to follow along with the motions and the spoken parts. When I clap my hands, clap, clap for Jesus, I spread God's love around. If I'm following Jesus, when I clap my hands, gonna spread God's love around. When I twist back and forth for Jesus, I spread God's love around. Twisty twist, if I'm following Jesus, when I twist back and forth, gonna spread God's love around. When I jump, 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 jump for Jesus, I spread God's love around. Jump, jump, if I'm following Jesus, when I jump, 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 gonna spread God's love around. When I dance for Jesus, I spread God's love around. Dance, if I'm following Jesus, when I dance, gonna spread God's love around. When I love my sibling, I'm loving Jesus, and I spread God's love around. Woo! If I'm following Jesus, when I love my sibling, gonna spread God's love around. When I live my life for Jesus, and I spread God's love around. Oh yeah, if I'm following Jesus, when I live my life, gonna spread God's love around. Gonna spread God's love around. Gonna spread God's love around. When I clap my hands, clap, clap for Jesus, I spread God's love around. If I'm following Jesus, when I clap my hands, gonna spread God's love around.
Welcome to worship this morning. We are glad that you are here. As Pastor Christian said, we have had a fabulous weekend with our campers. Friday night, their families joined us, and we had a picnic outside. We had fun in a bounce house. We sang together, we worshiped together, and we had an all-together good time. They're going to go ahead and start coming up here and get ready to lead us in worship this morning. As they lead us, please remember, we were only together for about 3 hours yesterday morning, so their rehearsal time has been pretty small, so we're going to give a lot of grace. All right, friends, come up so you can sing with us. If you would all join me in our call to worship, you can stand and join me. All right, friends, come on. You don't have to sing. All right, remember. All right, right here, friends. Remember, this is the one that we did yesterday. Remember, our part is we're going to say, come to the table. Ready? Right. After I say each piece, then everybody joins us for come to the table. Come, all who are hungry. Come to the table. Come, all who are thirsty. Come to the table. Come even if you have no money.
Come to the table.
Come and eat. There's more than enough food.
Come to the table.
Come enjoy food that satisfies your soul. Come to the table. Okay, stand right here.
Our opening hymn is a traditional song from Zimbabwe, and there is a Zulu part and an English part. I'd like to teach you the pronunciation to the Zulu part so you can sing along. So I'd like you to repeat after me. Somlandela. Somlandelu Jesu. Somlandela. Yonke indawo. Somlandela. Somlandelu Jesu. Lapo eya kona somlandela. That's it. And if it's easier for you to look at the phonetic spelling, that's included in your bulletin. Somlandela. Somlandela, somlandela Jésus, somlandela, yonke indawo. Somlandela, somlandela Jésus, lapo eyakona somlandela. Same melody, we will follow. We will follow Jesus. We will follow everywhere he goes. We will follow Jesus. Everywhere he goes, we will follow. Somlandela. Somlandela, somlandela Jesus. Somlandela, yonke indawo. Somlandela, somlandela Jesus. Lapho eyakona somlandela. We will follow. We will follow Jesus. We will follow everywhere he goes. We will follow Jesus. Everywhere he goes, we will follow.
The story of Zacchaeus. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through town. A man there named Zacchaeus, a ruler among tax collectors, was rich. He was trying to see who Jesus was, but being a short man, he couldn't because of the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed up a sycamore tree so that he could see Jesus, who was about to pass that way. When Jesus came to that spot, he looked up and said, "Zacchaeus, come down at once. I must stay in your home today." So Zacchaeus came down at once, happy to welcome Jesus. Everyone who saw this grumbled, saying, "He has gone to be a guest of the sinner." Zacchaeus stopped and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anyone, I repay them 4 times as much." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this household, because he too is a son of Abraham. The human one came to seek and save the lost."
Yesterday, we, with our kids, learned different ways how to pray. And one of those ways of praying was a stretch prayer. So we're going to do a stretch prayer together today. It may be a little unique to the ways that you're used to praying, but I invite you all to stand if you are able and join me in a prayer. Jesus, you saw Zacchaeus up in a tree, and you called him down. You showed him love, and he loved you. Jesus, thank you for seeing us and calling us. You love us, and we love you. Amen. We're missing kids.
Stand up there. Momentary pause. Do I start? Is this thing on? Okay, all right. Sorry, all right. Crowds of people followed Jesus everywhere, wherever he went. He taught them and told them stories. He also healed many sick people, so everyone wanted to see what he would do next. One day, Jesus and the disciples were walking up a mountainside. The people crowded around. Jesus turned to his disciple Philip and asked,
"Where should we buy bread for everyone?"
There have got to be more than 5,000 people here. Even if we bought one bite of bread for everyone, it would still cost more than the half of the year wages. We don't have that kind of money.
Here, this child has 5 small loaves of bread and 2 small fish. This doesn't really do much good for a crowd, but they said you can have it.
Thank you for sharing your lunch with me. Now, watch and see what God is going to do with your gift.
Jesus had the people sit down in groups. Then he took the bread that the child had given, gave thanks for it, and broke it. The disciples passed the bread to everyone in the crowd until they had eaten their fill. Don't actually eat this. It's paper. Don't actually eat it. All right. He took the fish and did the same thing. The fish is also paper. All right. When everyone had enough to eat, Jesus told his disciples to gather all the leftovers. But they're not that. All right. When they had enough. Oh wait, no, sorry. He didn't want anything to be wasted. So they walked through the crowd, picking up pieces. When they had finished, they had 12 baskets filled with leftover bread. 12. Too many people, not enough food. But then something special happened. Jesus used the food that the child had brought and turned it into more than enough for everyone. Because of the child's generosity, a whole lot of people got to eat. Everyone can help. That's pretty great.
For people we love and songs we can sing, for jokes we can tell and for laughter, for
Ice cream.
yes, for every good thing.
We give thanks. We give thanks for all the good all around us in this world.
For God's love that's here and is forever. For trees we can climb, and big gusty winds, for puddles to splash, and for oceans, for yes, for every good thing.
We give thanks. We give thanks
For all the good all around us in this world, for God's love that's here and is forever. We give thanks. For bugs that can crawl, and birds that fly high, for all of the life on this planet, for yes, for every good thing.
We give thanks. We give thanks
For all the good all around us in this world, for God's love that's here and is forever. We give thanks. We give thanks. We give thanks. Oh, bless the gifts our hands have brought, and bless the work our hearts have planned. Ours is the faith, the will, the thought. The rest, oh God, is in your hand. Oh, bless the gifts our hands have brought, and bless the work our hearts have planned. Ours is the faith, the will, the thought. The rest, oh God, is in your hand.
Like Pastor Annabeth said, we learned different ways to pray yesterday. We showed you our stretch prayer that we learned. We also learned about praying in color. So we are going to say something that we're thankful for with the color of paper we have. Alex, can you show us? Pick up your paper, show them the color, and tell us what you're thankful for that's that color. What are you thankful for?
Bath bombs.
Bath bombs. Okay. What are you thankful for?
God.
God. Family. Luke Skywalker has a blue. Church. Okay. Trees. His green paper's on the floor. Okay. Okay.
Flamingos.
Flamingos. Yep. Yep. Sunflowers.
Ice cream.
Ice cream.
The Big Bang, because it made existence happen. Basically, a bright light probably happened.
All right. Yeah, you're right. All right. Thank you for all of these things. Y'all can go sit down. Go sit down.
Take your paper with you.
As you can see, we are thankful for lots of things. We give thanks to God for all of them. All right, my scripture readers can come on. Remember, we're going to be respectful, okay?
The parable of the banquet feast. Jesus said to him, "A man gave a big dinner. He invited many people. When it was time to eat, he sent his servant to tell the guests, 'Come, the food is ready.' But all the guests said that they could not come. Each one made an excuse. The first one said, 'I have just bought a field, so I must go look at it. Please excuse me.' Another man said, 'I have just bought 5 pairs of work animals, and I must go and try them out. Please excuse me.' A third man said, 'I just got married, I can't come.' So the servant returned and told his master what happened. The master was angry. He said, 'Hurry, go into the streets and alleys of the town. Bring me the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame.' Later the servant said to him, 'Master, I did what you told me to do, but we still have places for more people.' The master said to the servant, 'Go out to the highways and country roads. Tell the people there to come. I want my house to be full. I tell you, not one of those people I invited first will eat any of this food I prepared.'"
Jesus took a cup of wine in his hands and gave thanks to God. Then he told the apostles, "Take this wine and share it with each other. I tell you that I will not drink any more wine until God's kingdom comes." Jesus took some bread in his hand and gave thanks for it. He broke the bread and handed it to his apostles. Then he said, "This is my body, which is given for you. Eat this as a way of remembering me." After the meal, he took another cup of wine in his hands. Then he said, "This is my body. It is poured out for you." And with it, God makes his new agreement. So during the meal, Jesus got up, removed his outer garment, and wrapped a towel around his waist. He put some water into a large bowl. Then he began washing his disciples' feet and drying them with the towel he was wearing. But when he came to Simon Peter, the disciple he asked, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered, "You don't really know what I'm doing, but later you will understand." "You will never wash my feet," Peter replied. "If I don't wash your feet," Jesus told him, "you don't really belong to me." Peter said, "Lord, don't wash just my feet. Wash my hands and my head." Jesus answered, "People who have bathed and are clean all over need to wash just their feet. And you, my disciples, are clean, except for one of you." Jesus knew who would betray him. That is why he said, "Except for one of you." After Jesus had washed his disciples' feet and had put his outer garment back on, he sat down again, then said, "Do you understand what I have done? You call me your teacher and Lord, and you should, because that is who I am. And if your Lord and your teacher has washed your feet, you should do the same for each other. I have set the example, and you should do for each other exactly what I have done for you." The disciples likely ate with Jesus more often than anyone else as they gathered to share the Passover meal together.
One evening, Peter said, "I'm going out to fish." His friends said, "We'll go with you." They got into their boat and fished and fished and fished. They fished all night but caught nothing. Early in the morning, a man stood on the shore. He called out to them, "Friends, have you caught any fish?" "No," they answered. He said, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some." When they did, they couldn't haul the net in because there were so many fish. Suddenly, Peter realized that the man on the shore was Jesus. He jumped out of the boat into the water and swam to shore. The other disciples followed him into the shore with the boat and the fish. When they landed, they saw a fire. There were fish cooking over the fire and some bread. Jesus said, "Bring some of the fish you just caught." Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net to the shore. There were 153 large fish. Jesus took the bread and gave it to them and did the same with the fish. After the fireside breakfast, Jesus said to Peter, "Do you love me?" "Yes, Lord," he said. "You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." Again, Jesus said, "Peter, do you love me?" "Yes, Lord," he said. "You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Take care of my sheep." Again, Jesus said, "Peter, do you love me?" "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said, Feed my sheep. Follow me.
So I ask you, what is your favorite place to eat? Y'all can tell me. Okay, so I heard some like specific restaurants, some specific places. I heard some chain restaurants, I heard some smaller ones, some little family-owned places. Chick-fil-A, I knew that one was coming from our young people. All right, so when I think about some of my favorite places to eat, I remember my grandmother's kitchen. The smell of chicken and pastry with a side of fried cornbread that I have yet to perfect on my own. Or Niesia, just down the street, where the smell of their green curry takes me back to Thailand on a mission immersion trip that I took with seminary. Sola, right across the street, is one of my favorites in the summer when the heirloom tomatoes are in, because those BLTs are amazing. But one of my all-time favorite places to eat is a little place in Atlanta. Have you ever been to Atlanta? Do you have favorite restaurants there? Y'all can guess. Does anybody have a guess as to what mine is? It is not the Varsity with an FO frosted orange. It is not. I knew that would be somebody's guess. Okay, so let me tell you, we could stay in here all day and guess. You're never gonna get it. No, good guess, but no, you're not. I promise, nobody's gonna get it. And the reason you're not gonna get it is because it's not a place that you would necessarily expect your children's minister to find as her favorite restaurant. No, not that one. The restaurant is called The Vortex. It's in a little 5 Points part of Atlanta. To understand this restaurant, you first have to understand the area of Little 5 Points. This is an eclectic area. It's where all of the hippies and the bikers and the grunge and the hip young people and the homeless all converge into one little spot in Atlanta. So the Vortex sits on one of the corners of the 5 Points. The outside of the restaurant looks like a giant skull. It has swirling red and white eyeballs that swirl around, and you enter this restaurant through the mouth of the skull. Again, not a place you would expect to find me, right? Inside, it gets even better. Inside, the decor, the best way I can describe this to you is it looks like Harley Davidson and Jerry Garcia, combined efforts to decorate this place. It's super, super colorful. There's skeletons everywhere, riding motorcycles, sitting on toilets. There's art everywhere. It's very eclectic and very fun. Their menu comes with a supplemental piece. It's a little bit crass. It's very funny. I can't read it to you because it's not appropriate for our young ones. It has some words in there that maybe they shouldn't say. But I do secretly, y'all, I'm letting you into all my secrets, keep a copy of the supplemental part of their menu in my office in a file folder called Things That Make Me Smile. And if I'm having a bad day, I pull it out and read it for a good laugh. So now you're probably wondering, why in the world is this ridiculous place your favorite? As much as I love their Jamaican jerk chicken and the fried zucchini chips, that's not why I go. I love this quirky place because so many different people from so many different walks of life all come together. Every time I've ever eaten there, my table has been full of friends. It's been full of laughter and full of joy. The joy in this place is contagious. It is hard not to be happy there. If it's too loud, there's a patio. There's a place for everyone. Usually when my friends and I visited the Vortex, it was followed by a trip across the street around the back corner to a little coffee house called If. If Coffee House exists, not only to serve coffee, of course, but it is a place for local artists to come and play. It's a place to listen to music and enjoy the company of friends. But it's also a place for the homeless in the area to come, get out of the elements, and enjoy a cup of water, a cup of coffee, a hot chocolate, maybe even a soda. But in short, eating at the Vortex, or If, either together or separate, it was an experience. And that's why I loved it. It was an experience worth repeating. So as a seminarian, I went often because the experience meant far more to me than the food I ate. So neither one of these places, the Vortex or If Coffee House, are really a place that you would expect to find me or Jesus. That is precisely why Jesus would have actually eaten there. If Jesus were walking the earth today, I think that Jesus would have a grand old time at the Vortex eating with all these people from all different walks of life. Jesus ate with sinners. Jesus ate with outcasts, with the faithful, with the searching, with the misguided, those with mixed up priorities, and those who denied him. Jesus purposely ate with a wide array of people. And with each meal, the experience was far more important than the food on the table. So let's start here. Zacchaeus. Maybe he wanted to see the healer that everybody else had talked about so much. Maybe he was just tired of being left out. Maybe he was simply curious. Whatever the reason, Jesus made sure that he saw Jesus that day. How surprised he must have been when Jesus called him down out of that tree and invited him to a meal together. While everyone else was talking and wondering why in the world Jesus would be eating with this sinner, this despised person that nobody else liked and certainly didn't want to eat with, Jesus and Zacchaeus were seated at a table for two. At this table, Zacchaeus experienced radical, life-changing grace. And with this gift of grace, Zacchaeus found hope, a hope that he never knew existed. It's kind of amazing that a simple meal and a conversation can change a person's life so drastically. The big picnic. When everyone is invited, it's easy to worry if there will be enough for everyone to eat. We've all been there. We've all hosted that event and more people showed up than we were counting on, and we were just hoping and praying that the food would last. Sometimes it's easy to feel that way about God's love, too. Is there truly enough for everyone? Will there be enough love for me and my family if God gives love to some of those other people, those people that maybe don't deserve it as much as I do? But through the gift of a child's lunch, Jesus proved just this. Yes, there's actually more than enough for everyone. God's love is so abundant that there are even leftovers. The thing is, Jesus didn't do this all on his own. He enlisted the help of the disciples to distribute the food and to collect those leftovers. And though I certainly believe that Jesus could and did actually literally multiply that food, I have to imagine that some of those people in the crowd had food that they had tucked away. They were a little bit reluctant to pull it out because they only had enough for their few people. They weren't sure that they wanted to share. But when the child shared, I can imagine many in that crowd got brave enough to pull out their food, and perhaps they began sharing too. Once the child was brave enough and kind enough to share his food, they were a little bit more willing to share what they had brought. Those gathered on the hillside that day may have eaten bread and fish, but what they experienced was the generosity and the abundance of God's love. the great banquet feast. Just as Jesus ate at the home of sinners and shared a meal with all who had gathered on that hillside, he also ate with the Pharisees, or the religious leaders. But even these religious leaders learned a lot when they ate with Jesus. All in one dinner party, Jesus healed a man who was sick on the Sabbath, breaking Jewish law, but helping others see that helping someone else was more important than the law itself, or what day it was. And then noticing that all of the guests were vying for that most important seat at the table, Jesus taught them that the humble are exalted and the stranger is welcome and all are invited. But he doesn't stop there. He continues with another parable. This one of a rich man who was throwing a party. His invite list was long, but when it was time for the party, all of the guests made excuses as to why they couldn't come. The party host didn't have patience for this, and he sent his servant out into the town to gather those who were never invited anywhere, inviting them to the party. And when all of these people came, there was still room for more, so he sent his servant further out into the countryside. And people who were otherwise ignored were suddenly invited. Jesus told the Pharisee and his guests that God's love is for everyone. There is literally no one who is not invited. There are no assigned seats, no kids' table for them to sit separate. Everyone is seated together to experience God's love firsthand. We don't know what was served at this dinner party. We can imagine the dates and the figs and the bread and the fish and all of those things. But it doesn't really matter, because what these guests experienced was radical inclusion, knowing that everyone is indeed invited and everyone has a place at the table. Jesus likely ate with his disciples more than he ate with anyone else. As they gathered to share a Passover meal, they had no idea that this meal would be one to remember. They had eaten this meal together before. But as they ate, Jesus took the bread and the wine that was on that table and he gave it new meaning. The disciples certainly didn't fully understand all that Jesus was telling them, but what they did understand is that their leader, their teacher, their friend was kneeling in front of them and washing their feet. He was washing the dust and the dirt from their feet. As he washed their feet, they witnessed humility from the greatest. They experienced the kind of love that serves without asking for recognition, the kind of love that serves out of love, not obligation. And soon the disciples will realize that what they experienced that night was an invitation to a new covenant, a new community. And it was this that would carry them through the next days and would carry this story to us even today. They thought their meals with Jesus were over. They had returned to the water to fish. It's what they knew. It's what brought them comfort. But they were surprised by a voice in the distance. It was Jesus who was waiting on the shore with them, or waiting on the shore with a blanket and fish on the fire, breakfast ready to be served. As they joined him, they added their catch to the fire and they ate together. Breakfast of fish and bread. As they gathered around the fire and they filled their bellies, Jesus filled their hearts. As Jesus asked Peter 3 separate times, "Do you love me?" Jesus offered forgiveness, the likes of which had never been experienced before. And along with forgiveness, Jesus offered Peter and the rest of the disciples direction. Directions to feed his sheep and to tend his lambs. They experienced forgiveness and guidance. They now understood that it was up to them to share God's love and grace and forgiveness and generosity and hope and inclusion and invitation with others. So in our own homes, and even here at church, we're surrounded by tables. Tables where we gather to eat, to make friends, to create family. Who is invited to these tables? Are we collectively offering the radical inclusion and invitation to our own tables? Are we being the humble servant that Jesus modeled so well? Are we serving grace and forgiveness and hope and generosity to all? So who are the lonely, the downtrodden, the invisible, the scarred, the outcast among us that deserve an invitation to join us? Is there somebody at school that you can invite to come sit at your table at lunch, or invite to come play with you at recess, invite to your home to come and play with you? Is there a coworker who really rubs you the wrong way that you can invite to coffee? Is there a neighbor down the street who always seems to be in a bad mood, or perhaps just looks lonely? Can you invite them over for a slice of pie? Even more boldly, can you invite the homeless guy in the corner into a restaurant and serve them a meal? Our theme verse for this weekend was Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." Together as campers, we talked about how sometimes, even when our bellies are full, our hearts and souls are empty. They're hungry for something different. The stories that we explored this weekend, and again this morning, show us what that love really looks like. So here's your question. Are you ready to come to the table and eat with Jesus? Can you host a banquet feast and invite those who are usually left out? Can you offer the grace and hope to the Zacchaeuses in your life? What do you have that you can share with others, like that child on the hillside? How can you be a humble servant, serving out of love and not obligation? Is there someone whom you need to offer forgiveness? Or do you yourself need to accept the forgiveness that someone is offering you? Are you ready to come to the table and to share the grace with others?
Come to the table, come take your seat, come and eat with me. There is more than enough to share, yes, God's love is everywhere. Come to the table, come and eat. At God's table, there is a banquet feast. At God's table, a place of honor for the least. The hungry all are fed, and it's more than fish and bread. Come to the table, come and eat. Come to the table, come take your seat. Come and eat with me. There is more than enough to share, yes, God's love is everywhere. Come to the table, come and eat. At God's table, we wash each other's feet. At God's table, we are welcome. The thirsty drink their fill, and there's living water still. Come to God's table, come and eat. Come to the table, come take your seat. Come and eat with me. There is more than enough to share, yes, God's love is everywhere. Come to the table, come to the table, come take your seat.
Thank you, friends. We have a chance to all sing together. Perhaps as you have sat here, you have realized that you are invited to this table of Gracetown, and we would love to celebrate that with you. Perhaps you realize that there is somebody that you need to invite. Invite to your table, invite to this table. Somebody that you should step out of your comfort zone and go talk to, share a meal with. Whatever that is, I invite you to reflect on that. And if you want to share it with me, I will be here. Let's stand and sing together.
For everyone born, a place at the table. For everyone born, clean water and bread. A shelter, a space, a safe place for growing. For everyone born, a star overhead. And God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. Yes, God will delight when we are creators of justice, justice and joy. For woman and man, a place at the table. Revising the roles, deciding the share. With wisdom and grace, dividing the power. For woman and man, a system that's fair. And God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. Yes, God will delight when we are creators of justice, justice and joy. For young and for old, a place at the table. A voice to be heard, a part in the song. The hands of a child in hands that are wrinkled. For young and for old, the right to belong. And God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. Yes, God will delight when we are creators of justice, justice and joy. For everyone born, a place at the table. To live without fear and simply to be. To work, to speak out, to witness and worship. For everyone born, the right to be free. And God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. Yes, God will delight when we are creators of justice, justice and joy.
Before I share some announcements for this week, I just want to thank all of our kids and our families for participating in Camp Grayson this weekend and for leading us in worship. Can we give them a round of applause? And thank you to Pastor April and all of our volunteers and youth and parents and leaders who've helped this weekend for all the work and the ways that you've served us. We have several things that I want to remind you about this week. First being our church conference this Wednesday, the 28th at 7 p.m. in the fellowship hall. That agenda and supporting documents were sent out in the past couple of emails, so make sure to check that. There was an updated one that went out last week. Next week is another big week for our church, as it is World Communion Sunday, where we will have a shortened worship service in here at 9:30 before heading over to the fellowship hall for Rise Against Hunger. So we all are invited to come and pack meals for Rise Against Hunger. We encourage you, if you are coming, to wear something casual and to wear comfortable shoes, as you will be standing for a long time. There are roles involved if you need to have be able to work and be seated, but most of us will be standing on our feet for a while to pack meals, so dress comfortably. And we invite you to go ahead and sign up in the link either on our website or in the e-news. But if you forget, or if you don't know if you can come until Sunday morning, we will have paper registration as well. Also this past week, on Wednesday, if you're a church member, you received an invitation in your email from Realm, and we are encouraging all of our church members to join Realm Connect. So through that link, you'll be able to sign up for an account, and you'll have access to either a smartphone app or a website on your computer, where you'll be able to view the online church directory and also your personal giving, as well as some other things. In the email, there's also a link to a page on our website that has lots of different resources to help you understand what Realm is, and some videos I created with tutorials on how to log in if you're not super tech savvy or need some extra help. Also, our Realm launch team is going to be out in the hallway after this at this table, and we'll be able to connect you if you haven't already. But we encourage all of our members to sign up for that. About a third of you have already, which is awesome. But if you haven't, make sure to do that soon. And then lastly, we want to go ahead and let you know about a book club that we are having starting on October 9th. It will be for 3 Sundays in a row in the gathering room right across from the sanctuary. Pastor Chrissy is going to be leading a book club from 6 to 7 p.m. on The Gravity of Joy by Dr. Angela Williams-Gurrell. Dr. Gurrell was actually one of my mentor professors in seminary and is now speaking and writing and leading really important conversations for youth, but also just for a life worth living is kind of the model that she is focusing on. It's a story, this is an excerpt from it real quick. This is a story of Angela's discovery of an authentic, grounded Christian joy. But even more, it's an invitation for others to seize upon this more resilient joy as a counteragent to the 21st century epidemics of despair, addiction, and suicide. A call to action for communities that yearn to find joy and are willing to walk together through the shadows to find it. In order to help us shop locally, we are inviting you to visit Quail Ridge Books. That's in North Hills, the local bookstore. They have some copies on hold for members of Greystone, so you can just go up to the front desk and ask them for the book, or you can call them ahead of time. But there's also copies available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble as well. But we hope you'll join us for that and go ahead and start reading that book. Go ahead and purchasing it. It's a really great book, and we hope that you'll enjoy. That will be our discipleship opportunity for the month of October.
All right, my kids, my campers, you're invited back up here. One more time. We're gonna dance this time. Ira Neely, who's in the back, we met Ira in Arkansas with Together for Hope, and he has been with us, bringing all the energy, and we have been dancing and having a blast, having so much fun. So for our post-salute and benediction this morning, our kids are going to dance their way out, sharing their joy with us. They might come by you and want a high five. All right, my friends, you ready? Okay, let's go. Let's dance.
Come on, clap your hands. Here we go. That's it. Yeah, we're all in this together and we're having fun. We're here to spread the love of God to everyone. Gonna get a little crazy, yeah, a little wild. Here we go now, come give it a try. Move it to the left now. Move it to the right. Find some
fall to show their parents all their crafts, and the food that they made is waiting for you all, for their parents. So if we can let our parents head that way, and then the rest of you can head on to your Sunday school and discipleship classes. Thank you for being here this morning.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you for all this. Do you need any help with anything right now, or?
Not right now. I mean, it's something I gotta tear all this apart.
It's Sunday school, right? Yeah, okay.
No, not unless you feel like you need to practice. I think they know those songs well enough.
Take her table down.
Yes, if you want to.
That'll be fine if we just go over it next.
Thank you.
Sunday morning.
Do what?
That'll be fine, I think, if we could go over it just next Sunday morning.